Welcome to J-Pop Kissa Take a Break. Picture this, a cozy table in a retro Japanese cafe, and you've just joined me here. I'm Terence, a longtime fan of J-Pop and Japanese entertainment, especially since the 90s. While we sip something warm, I'll share what's been on my mind about the music, dramas, movies, and more. Let's take a break together. Hey, welcome to this episode of J-Pop Kissa. How is everyone doing? This past week has been a lot of reminiscing and celebration and all sorts of different emotions coming through because, as I've mentioned before on this podcast, I am a huge fan of Morning Musume or Morning Musume, which is a group that has been around since 1997. And what they're famous for is that they have constant graduations and new addition of members. So they have been growing and continuing for all these years, and they if you think about it, it's now 2025 and they're still actively releasing music, doing a lot of concerts, and they have had such a big cultural influence on Japan in so many different ways. And what has been getting me into reminiscing in a sense is that a huge member of this group that has played such a pivotal role in so many ways has left showbiz altogether. And so the person that I want to feature today, her name is Michishige Sayumi. Sayumi is her first name. And she was the sixth generation of the group. And also, she was the eighth leader of the group as well. And she went through an audition in 2002. And out of 14,000 people, she got chosen to be part of the sixth generation and became an official member in 2003. And she debuted with the song called Shabondama, which is a very angry and active song dedicated to basically a love that screwed your life. And so it's a very entertaining song, but she came out around that time. And in 2012, she became the eighth leader, and she led this new era for the group called Colorful Era, that's fans love to call, because a lot of new members joined. And she led that group to basically a renaissance of success because when Morning Musume became really big, it was late 90s, early 2000s, and they were huge before any kind of like idol group that came after them. But then when you've been around for so long and members start to change, the general public don't really, they kind of lose interest. And so she was also there with the group when the group was, not as popular with general public, but they were still very active, getting better at singing, getting better at performing. And they really had a lot of dedicated fans that came along because of that as well. But then in 2012, that's when, they call it kind of like a new era for the group, when a lot of new younger members joined. And then she, in so many ways, was a surprise because when she became a leader, because when she joined, she didn't really know how to sing, and she was a complete novice and an amateur. And so many years later, she would actually recall saying that, well, actually, I didn't know that you had to hold a note or you need to sing in a certain pitch. Because she thought it was just about when you're feeling when you're just singing along somehow. So she actually didn't even realize that was an important thing. So because of that, in a lot of songs, she didn't even get featured at that much. When you're a part of a big group, you want to have solo lines, especially if you want to stand out, because the more lines you have, the more you'll be featured, the more you maybe will just dance in front of the pack, the more you'll be, on camera when you go on TV. but she basically had like a note, a scream, or like some words that are not even singing lines. And that became a bit for her as well when she went on TV and she would complain like she actually want more lines, but they just didn't give her any. Or they would auto tune her. So that was actually really funny and fascinating. But she also contributed to the group in the sense that she went on a lot of TV shows and made a name for herself. And at the time, she would say things that are coming off as being really. She would say things that would come off as being really rude in a sense, like you're very direct. It's like, oh, you're not that cute, for example, to other people on the show. Which if I say it out loud, it sounds like, oh wow, she's like a really bad personality. But in a way, it was actually really funny, and she was just being very straight in that sense. And ever since day one, when she joined, she would always think that she is the cutest member of the group. And she would also say that, every time in the morning when she wakes up, she'll look in the mirror and she'll say, oh, I'm so cute today, too. So there's always been this confidence to her, which when I first learned that she was joining, I was already a fan of the group, but it completely, like, I didn't get it at the time. Like, because she couldn't really sing. And also she came off as really shy, so you really couldn't see her personality early on, despite what I just told you now, besides the fact that she would say that she's cute. So it really took me a while to really get to know who she was and warm up to her. But as I said, she was really going on these TV shows and really making a name for herself and really getting attention and sometimes even, dislike from the general public. It's like people know who she was, but it seemed like she was not someone of good character, I guess, in a sense, because she was saying all these mean things about people and she came off as, being full of herself. But one really telling show or really one telling moment that showed how committed she was she had to, as part of a segment on a TV show, she had to live with very little money. I think was the topic, and how she could still eat and cook and really sustain herself for a month, I believe. And they filmed and showed that part um, of her attempt at doing that. So she would cook and she would try to, buy really cheap groceries and she would make things like that. But at one point, she actually got really teary eyed because it was really tough on her. And but the why she did that was that it doesn't matter if she suffered a little, but she really wanted the world to know how amazing the group Morning Musume was, which people were forgetting. People were assuming, oh yeah, they were popular like years ago, but didn't know what the current active members were really doing. And so we could see how like a lot of what she was doing was really for the group, and she really wanted to get herself out there so that the group could really be popular again and people would know. And the whole reason why she joined in the first place was because of her love for the group. She wanted to. It seemed like she wanted to perform, she wanted to sing, but it wasn't so much like she just wanted to be popular, or that she just joined. She doesn't work out for Hello Project or Morning Musume, then she'll just do some other auditions. But she really just loved the group, so that's why she did it. And so, being a fan of the group, we could see her evolution, and also being that confident leader that helped to lead. In 2012, there were basically 9 new members, all teenagers, and she was already in her 20s. And so she led them into this renaissance where they got a string of number one singles again after so many years. And they were playing again in big arenas and crowd and concert venues. And then she graduated from the group in 2014, and she was the longest member at the time. and in terms of tenure, having been with the group for 4,329 days, which is about 11 years. So from 2003 to 2014. And then she took a break, and then she came back 2 years later on the exact same day. And she actually took a step back from doing all the variety shows. She really committed to performing. So she would create these she they call them musicals, but it's not so much about like having a cast and but it's really about her worldview, and you see her dance, you see all these projections and kind of her music all tailored to her. And so she would do these concerts, be in magazines, occasionally returning to Hollow Project stages, especially when they did anniversary concerts. So just constantly being around in the limelight. But in 2023, they announced that she was diagnosed with OCD, and this was something that was also actually causing her a lot of anxiety and stress. And so they would limit, the activities that she would do. But actually, what happened this year was that she decided that she would leave showbiz altogether after 22 years. And her last concert was her last concert just happened on August 14, 2025 at Tokyo Zepp's Diver City. So it's a venue where, she spent her last moments with her fans and left showbiz altogether. So as someone who's seen her around for so long, it's really strange to know that, you really don't have another opportunity to see her perform again. And I've had the fortune to see her in concert as a member of Morning Musume at the time, but also when she's done performance as part of reunion, and also one of her solo acts as well. So I feel at least lucky to have been able to see all that. But to now know that she's not around anymore, and at least in the limelight, and it's very sad. But I really wanted to dedicate this episode to all that she's done, because she's shown that, one, it's not so much about being good or bad at something. It's about how to consistently just show up and do your best, and still be able to bring yourself and authenticity, and also build a connection with people that will grow to love you as well. And she, again, she did not know how to hold a note when she first joined, but she made it her own. And when she graduated, it was a huge dedication to her, in a huge arena. And she sang songs that she sang when she auditioned for the group, and in full confidence. And there's so much emotion that comes from just watching her progress and her journey. And and I think that's what's amazing about kind of these idols in Japanese entertainment. I wouldn't say it's the same for every single idol group out there. I think there are very, very different genres even within the idol industry. But for Morning Musume, they are not known for just acting cute, or singing very simple message songs, which is not, there's nothing wrong with any of those. It's just that there is so much layer and depth to the group and the music that's been produced. And so, they've been around for nearly 30 years now. And so to see that, and just see her now finding her new happiness outside of showbiz, is something that, I want to personally honor as well. And also, in some ways, I don't know, I don't think she'll ever listen to this, but show my gratitude for her as well. So as part of this podcast, I also do an episode on StationHead, which is where I play the actual music that I want to talk about. And you can listen as I share a little commentary on them as well. If you want to, I definitely recommend going to StationHead, and I have shared the link in the description, as well as also other YouTube links as well that I would love to highlight. Unfortunately, in Japan, Morning Musume songs are not on any music streaming services, so I couldn't play the actual Morning Musume songs. And there is one song that I'll talk about later that I couldn't play, but I'll definitely highlight as well. So a few songs that I would love to highlight is that first, Oki Hitomi, or Big Eye. So this song is basically the sixth generation song. So when you're singing in a group, basically every member is in that song somehow. But this is a song that came out in I think 2010. Yes, where it was an album song, but it's basically so in sixth generation. Technically, there are four members, but one of them was actually already an established solo artist of Hollow Project that got added in. I'll leave that as a different topic another day. But basically, three people came from that audition in 2002, including Michishige Sayumi. And so this was a song featuring the three of them. And it's very cool. It's very, in Japanese, we call it kakoi. They will talk, and it's about them singing to basically a guy they like. But they all get featured in different ways. And my personal favorite from that generation is Kameiri, who actually left the group much earlier. But all of them bring their style and originality, and it's basically the ultimate song of Morning Musume. At one point, it was voted number one song by the fans. So it's a very great song that I hope that all of you can take a listen to. And then the first song that I played on StationHead is called Kare to Ishoni Omise ga Shitai. So this is the B-side to their 47th single from 2011, which is also the last part of the last single of the leader at the time. But it was the first song that Sayu was featured a lot on this song. And the title just basically means like, hey, I want to open a shop with him, as in, your boyfriend or someone that you love. And so it's very cute, but it's also very happy. It's very active, and you get to really see how much you're having fun in that song. And by that point in time, the leader that left was fifth generation, but she was a leader for a very long time as well, and she was also basically the lead vocal for a lot of singles before that. And so it almost felt like it was starting like a shift to a new generation for the group, or a new era. And then the newer members, the ninth generation that joined at the time, were getting featured more and more. So you could see the shifts happening. I don't remember if Sayu was already announced as a leader by that point when the single came out. But you could no, because it wasn't. Okay, now I remember. Because another fifth generation member was gonna be a leader, but she left basically like half a year later, or 8 months or something like that. So it was not known that Sayu was going to be leader. I think everyone wondered who would be after that other leader left. But I certainly didn't imagine Sayu to be a leader one day when she first joined. But again, it was just amazing how she really filled that role and really led so much changes. But anyway, so this was a song that really started to showcase her. And they sang this a lot whenever there was an opportunity. So if Sayu came back to some event to sing with the group for an anniversary purpose, this was one of the songs that she would sing. And then the next song after that is a song from their 2012 album, so their 13th album, called Colorful Character. So this was a time when the 9th generation joined, the 10th generation joined, and it was really like a new era. And every member color. So every member has like their own unique color. So when you go to their concert, you can buy one of those light sticks where you can change the light to that member, and then you want to turn that light on to cheer them on. And so they featured all of them in their own different colors, and it was their cover album. So this became their colorful era, which before the ninth generation joined, it was called the platinum era, where they were not as well known. anymore, but they were really releasing good quality songs, and they were getting better and better in performing and singing live and dancing, and so they're really building up their quality. And Colorful Era was just like built on top of that, and when they started to get really well known again. And from this album, Sayu had a single song called La 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 no PPP, which almost sounds like just like a chant or like a magic incantation. And she is heavily auto-tuned. It's very cutesy. It's like sugary pop in a way, but it fit her perfectly, and it was really made for her. And she really came into her own, and she sang that. For someone who only had like a word or a line of dialogue in all the previous songs, she was able to showcase who she was herself in that song. And a lot of people in Hello Project since would also admire Sayu for singing that song, and the newer generation members will sometimes come, or even not Morning Musume, but from Hello Project, they will be her backup dancer when she sings this. So this is another one of her feature songs. And the next song that we played was called Aruiteru, which means I'm walking or walking. And this is actually their 31st single from 2006. It was also their first single to get #1 on the Oricon chart since the Sixth Generation joined. So it was she joined for a few years by that point. She's never gotten a #1 single at all. So this was a big moment for the group, considering how their popularity was already on the decline in some ways. And she said that this is a song that she loves a lot, and it's a song. It has a strong message of peace. It just talks about walking forward toward the future, the unknown, but with love in our heart, and together, and not alone. So when the group at that point, so again, it's the Colorful Era when they were really getting popular again, they released an updated album, what our updated best album is what they call, a re-recording a lot of the big hits over the years. And she was able to sing this song as a solo as again in 2013. So this was a song that really showed how she was able to really bring that love and energy into what she loves. And then the song after that I played was called Akai Furijia. So this is the ultimate start of it all. In 2003, when they went through, or in 2002 actually, or when they went through all the auditions to become a member, they filmed that process. When they learn the dance that they would ultimately have to perform, when they learn the songs that they have to sing, this was the song of that audition. So this is called, basically meaning Red Freesia. It's from a single by Melon Kinembi, which is also a group as part of Hello Project. And Hello Project, again, is this big umbrella and court organization of all these groups, including Morning Musume as a flagship group. And so they were all produced by Zungu, who wrote a lot of the songs and basically the main producer at the time. And so people really got to know this song through the audition and not before they knew Melon Kinembi, I would imagine. And all the members that became as part of Sixth Generation, they sang this. And again, when we look back to the footages at the time, she really didn't know how to sing. And you could see how, despite all that, she was able to get through the song, make it her own. But what was even more significant was how, when she graduated in 2014, she sang that as her graduation song by herself, walking down a long catwalk in an arena, and actually fighting pain in her foot as well, because she actually hurt herself halfway through the concert. But she sang that with confidence, and the vocal teacher from the audition who's famous in this and to the fans because he was part of a lot of auditions, this vocal teacher, and he was really strict and he basically yelled at a lot of people that didn't do what he told them to do. But apparently he cried too watching her sing that song. It's basically like a love ballad, and written reminiscing a lot of the older kind of like 80s female idol pop artists. And it's when you think about love, this will be a song. And she sang that again. So this, when you think about Sixth Generation, this is a song to listen to. Also a really great hit from Melon Kinenbi as well. And lastly, I closed with her last single called Yes, Saiko Desho. So basically meaning, yes, I'm the happiest. And maybe for you too. And I'm kind of interpreting it in my own way. And the lyrics were written in a sense that it was about the life that she's led and how she really dedicated to this role as an idol all these years. Even after graduating, again, she was a solo artist for a number of years. And she did a lot of concerts and a lot of performances, but really doing a lot for her fans as well. And people expected a lot from her, but she really lived her role, and she felt that she is who she is because of the fans, how they were there for her, and so it's basically a heartfelt gratitude, and the message that she wants to get to the fans from through the song, and when in her last day, or actually the day after her last performance ever, she wrote a handwritten, or she posted her handwritten letter on her blog. Um, and she talked about how, she definitely wants to stay as herself, as Michishige Sayumi, even now that she's not in the limelight anymore. But it's because of the fans that she's able to do that. And although she's sad and also, a little bit melancholy that she cannot see the fans anymore. And also, when she thought about going, what she wanted to do, she was scared and she was anxious and she wasn't sure if people would understand her situation and her condition, and the song really reminded her that all the days that she's had, including the imperfections, like those were the loving memories that she'll always have. And it's also because of the fans and the love that she's received that she's supposed to say, hey, I was the happiest and I am the happiest now. And she felt that the fans loved her more than she loved herself. And then she basically proclaimed that she'll continue to love her fans more than they love themselves as well. And so it's such a good finale of who she was and who she is, and really proclaiming that, even though we won't see her perform anymore, that the bond will always be there. And yeah, like it's not like I constantly followed what she's done since she's become solo. But I always have such fond memory, and I also hold her to, as someone of significance when I think about Morning Musume. And, if anyone ever talked about, or ever asked me to talk about, what's so amazing about this group, it's just really see someone like her grow and become who she was, and through with such confidence and self assurance that's not overbearing, and for someone like me, that I've always, throughout the years, growing up, sometimes I feel very unsure about myself, and sometimes I wish I was someone else. But really knowing that it's okay to be me and always make something my own, and as strange as it may sound, she is an inspiration in that way as well. And I think it also goes to show again that we can all just be authentic in who we are, and there will be people that will like us for who we are, and all we can do is live our truth and really live each day and be who we are. So I hope all of you, despite the fact that she's left showbiz, she's left the group for so many years now, that you'll take a moment to really try out her music, and it's not so much about, the whether she's like, as good as, the best vocalist out there. It's definitely nothing like that, but it's about the personality and love that she's brought to the music and the influence that she's had, and nothing can erase the impact that she's brought to J-pop, in my mind anyway. So I hope all of you can either check out the YouTube links that I'm going to share in the description for the videos, or go to StationHead, or go to your own streaming service to listen to her solo songs, because I think that is her way of showing that appreciation for her, and the group. So thank you again so much for your time today. I really enjoyed being able to speak about my love for this group. And again, thank you. I don't know what to call her, like Michishige-san or Sayu, or like I feel like I sound like she's listening. But 本当に本当にありがとうございました。お疲れ様です。I'll be back soon with more to share. Until then, take care and enjoy your next cup of J-pop entertainment.